Yes, the Patriots re-signed Devin McCourty, but he turns 33 in August. So does Patrick Chung, and they traded Duron Harmon while they added Adrian Phillips and Cody Davis in free agency. Safety, like off-ball linebacker, may not be a pressing need, but it would behoove the Patriots to add young talent to the position. And this year's draft is a great opportunity for them to do so. Welcome to Draft Central. I'm Bobby Krivitsky here with Evan Lazar and Taylor Kyles. Today, we're evaluating the Patriots' best options at safety throughout different stages of the draft. Taylor, I don't anticipate Xavier McKinney falling to pick 23, but if that happens, he'd be a tremendous option for Devin McCourty to ultimately pass the torch to.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I actually think that he would be even better as a Patrick Chung replacement. He's someone who I think a lot of these safeties in this draft have a lot of versatility, but McKinney's one of the few guys who I think really can stand up in the box. He doesn't let himself get bullied by linemen. I'm not saying he's going to consistently bench press and throw them off or anything, but sometimes you just want somebody who can stay active and at least hold their ground and let people rally around him, which is where I think he does well. He's got fantastic instincts. I think he has good ball skills. I'd like to see him catch more passes when they come in his direction, but, that's kind of nitpicking because he has such a great skill set. And he's so instinctive that in man coverage, it's really hard to get him to take any false steps or get him to kind of lean away from the coverage because he has a really good feel for where receivers are trying to go in their routes, tight ends, and all those kinds of things. He has good spacing and good awareness in zone coverage, and he really wants to be active in the run game, which you love to see from the safety position. You don't just want someone who's going to kind of lurk down into the box and, just kind of stand there. He's someone who you can tell wants to make a hit. He's impactful. So I think he could play a lot of different roles. He could play free safety, although I don't think he quite has the range to be there full time. But we've also seen Patrick Chung sometimes play the deep middle. That not necessarily all the time, but they'll sprinkle it in there. So in terms of versatility, toughness, intelligence, pedigree, he's someone I think fits the Patriot system beautifully.
Yeah, Taylor, that was a good report there. I think the biggest thing with McKinney for me is the versatility. I mean, he has the ability to play high zone and be a ball hawk, and he can come and cover a tight end man-to-man, and he can play in the box in a pseudo linebacker role and play an intermediate zone or blitz off the ball. He can rush off the edge a little bit too. He did that a few times. He's really good at standing up, run blockers and really fighting it through blocks and really be another linebacker essentially inserting in the run game. And his instincts and his intelligence as a football player are fantastic. The angles that he takes to the ball are great. His flip and run is great in center field. The only thing, you look at him as a football player and he's a perfect first-round safety. It's that combine testing. You've tested in the 20th percentile. You run in the mid-4.6s as a safety. That's going to bring up some concerns, I think, for teams. So I'm really fascinated to see how high he ends up going because the tape is first-round lock, right? It's clear that he's a first-round talent on film, doing it in the SEC against great competition. But if you're going to draft a safety in the 20th percentile athletically, then you better have a specific role in mind that they're not going to really turn out and figure out that you can really run deep on this guy or he doesn't have the best range from center field. So there's some concerns there with the athletic profile, but in terms of the tape, it's a can't-miss prospect. Certainly another one of those guys, too, that Saban will vouch for with Belichick, I'm sure, on his character and leadership qualities. That Alabama defense was kind of desperate for somebody to step up and take on a leadership role, and McKinney was really the guy that did that.
You both spoke to McKinney's versatility, and certainly those testing numbers are going to be a concern. But over the last 2 years, according to Pro Football Focus, he played over 200 snaps at free safety, strong safety, and at slot corner. He's good against the run and in coverage, and he can also rush the passer effectively. So I don't anticipate him falling to 23, but hey, the draft is a crapshoot and you never know. All right, let's get into this one. One of the discussions I'm most excited about, I think that you guys are on the same page on that front, and that is discussion surrounding the number 2 safety, at least on my board, and that's Grant Delpit. But Evan, you've got him further down the charts.
I have him as my safety 5 right now. I'm going to stick to my guns on this one and keep him at safety 5. If you want to take a safety that can't tackle, then be my guest, okay? But I'm going to take the safeties that are sure tacklers, that are guys that can fill in the alley, that understand pursuit angles, that understand how to take on a guy and run through his hips and actually get him on the ground. I just don't feel comfortable playing him on the back end because I know for a fact that any slant that goes 5 yards to a receiver that runs into space and he's the center fielder coming down to make the tackle, it's going 80 yards to the house every single time. That's my concern with it. The ball skills are great. The range from top safety is great from high zone. The man coverage skills really took a step back in 2019. 2018, he was pretty sticky in man coverage. He covered tight ends, maybe cover a slot receiver or two. 2019, he got loose a little bit in his coverage at the top of the route and wasn't able really to stick with guys out of their route breaks. But I'm not majorly concerned about that because I don't think that he's going to play a ton of man coverage. I like the tenacity. I like the aggression, the downhill trigger. But if he can't tackle, I know he's not going to play for Bill Belichick and he's not going to play for me.
I understand that. And where I'm coming from is I think if you want a playmaker and someone that offenses are going to have to think about anytime they're playing whatever team drafts him, I think that's legitimate discussion. Now, Delpit is one of the best playmakers on defense, I think, in this entire draft class.
I agree.
His issues are absolutely concerned. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it or anything like that, but the deficiencies I see in his game are things that are correctable because you see the athleticism. You know that he is an intelligent player. You've seen the history of him being good in coverage. And when it comes to playing the run, it's not like – I think the perception is that he's just bad because he maybe doesn't – it's an effort thing, but he's a physical player. Now, there are times he comes downhill so hard he's dislodging balls, and he does make tackles. Honestly, when I actually put on the film, I was surprised to even see him make as many tackles as he did because it sounds like he basically just throws himself at everyone. And he did have a clavicle injury, which I think may have had something to do with it, and his confidence to actually lay the wood and not just drop his head, because that's, I think, the biggest problem is he's not actually squaring up and keeping his head up and going through guys. He's dropping his head and kind of lunging. But that's something that I think is correctable, and the mentality and the aggressiveness against the run, I think, is there, and it's something to work with. I think if you coach him up and you improve his pursuit angles, you tell him to chase the upfield shoulder and make sure that you're squaring these guys up and being a sound tackler, if you put it in his head, and especially with the Patriots, they're in a position where they don't even have to start him year one. I think it would be a great advantage. I think he can also go down to the slot if you want him to. He could be a nice mismatch piece. But again, I will also acknowledge it as a slot cornerback, you are going to have to tackle. You're an important part of the run game. So I think, but he has the physicality. He's not afraid to tackle running backs. He's not afraid to get involved in the trenches and stick his nose in the dirt, but he needs to improve technically. But with someone with his playmaking ability and his range and all the pluses that he has, I think that it's kind of unfair to completely kind of throw him away or drop him down that low just because he's technically unrefined, considering he brings so much more other things to the table that you're not going to find anywhere else in this draft class.
Well, I do want to be clear. I still have a second-round grade on him. I still think he's a really good player. I just like other safeties in this class a little bit better because they're cleaner prospects and they don't have a giant Achilles heel like Delpit's tackling issues. In terms of the technique of the tackling issues, I think the biggest thing is that he starts to break down and kind of lunge at guys a couple of steps too early, and it leaves kind of room for guys to then break in or out or make an elusive move to get out of that tackle. It comes back to me like teams like the Patriots understand the importance of inserting in the run game from safety, whether it's from a high zone position or it's a slot corner kind of defender type position like Patrick Chung is going to play. And teams like, for instance, the Dallas Cowboys are going to draft a guy like Grant Delpit because of the interceptions and because of the jersey that he's wearing. If he was wearing a different jersey than where I have him ranked, I think would be pretty much where everybody has him ranked. But the 2018 season, a lot of these scouts are biased, right? They look at it from a pre-kind of season standpoint, and they can't get rid of the 2018 unanimous first-team all-selection nod. They just can't get that out of their heads. But in terms of what he brings to the table now, I just see a guy that, I think that certain offensive coordinators and certain matchups are going to be like, we're going to have to be careful about where Delpit is on the field because he will ball hawk and he's going to come after the football. But other than that, I think that other offensive coordinators would really want to expose the fact that he can't tackle. So I think he's an impact player on the back end from the playmaking standpoint. I still think he can be an above average starter in the league. I just don't know if the tackling is actually ever going to get better.
Evan has accused Taylor and I of being blinded by Grant Delpit's playmaking ability. And as he just said
you're studying off of like 10% of his plays, right? It's like studying a pass rusher just off of his sack total, right? It's just that number. If you watch just a guy's sacks, he might look like a great player, but what is he doing on 90% of the other snaps?
But Evan, you even talked about, and Taylor touched on it as well, that it goes beyond the playmaking. So I don't think either one of us is blinded by that because we see the versatility in his ability to cover tight ends and slot receivers, not to make an excuse for him, but there's also the fact that he dealt with an ankle injury that hampered his production.
The high ankle sprain is probably the biggest thing we haven't brought up yet about him.
And I thought that affected not only his coverage, but his tackling as well. Certainly it goes beyond just an ankle injury last season, and that poor tackling is going to be a turnoff to Bill Belichick. But with his combination of size, strength, length, playmaking and versatility, the fact that he can get home when he's asked to rush the passer, I think that some team and fan base is going to be excited that they got him.
Oh, of course they're going to be excited. They got an LSU safety. Are you kidding me? Like that. Like that's what I'm saying. Is like you think of him and you're thinking of Honey Badger and you're thinking of Jamal Adams and all these great players. It's just not who he is. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's completely off their board. I think he might be completely off their board with his tackling issues. Okay, I'm done. I swear.
No, the tackling issues are important, but I think you can be blinded by a jersey. I am not. I'm offended.
I know you're not. I'm not accusing you of being blind by the jersey. I'm accusing other people of being blind by the jersey because I know that other people will look at this in other fan bases and they'll draft a guy like Grant Delpit and everybody will be super excited because they'll see the flashy interceptions and they'll see the LSU jersey and they'll be like, remember Jamal Adams? This guy's built just like Jamal Adams. He's just not that type of player. He's not that alpha mentality and he's not that type of player in terms of his physicalness and his tackling ability.
Well, we will see what happens. Evan, I am concerned that the tackling issue could take him off the Patriots board, but I stand by. It's more than just the playmaking with Grant Delpit. For Evan and Taylor, I'm Bobby Krivitsky. For all of our Patriots-related content, including Evan's breakdowns of the best fits for the Patriots at each position, check out clnsmedia.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Patriots Press Pass.